what are you saying? I don't see that either. Population there, or the property value there is very low. It's in terms of like the family could help him scrape up enough money for this. But just keep in mind, because I think that this is what kind of, at first I didn't think much of it till I learned more about the area, right? So they're letting this minor child, 17, go live here. What you're seeing, if you're watching right now, which if you're not watching, it's just a barren, nothing, desert of a farm with living in the camper trailer. There's the grain mill. There's a couple of big pieces of farming equipment, and that's pretty much it. The reason this concerns me is because as I looked more about this area, we know drugs can be kind of rampant. It's hard to say rampant when there's not that many people. So it's not that everyone there is doing this, but when you have a place where there's not a lot of money coming in, a lot of things like that, these things can run rampant. So one of the gentlemen, on a side note, that was interviewed about Montello, the place over in Nevada that we're going to be talking about, where Dylan would kind of hang out sometimes if he was off the farm, he even said, oh no, I chose to live here, and he picked a different city. And when asked why, he said, because I had heard about Montello. Like, he was like, it was not a place for a family. So that being said, these may not have been great places for a 17-year-old boy to live.
So I got on the Google Maps, and I just zoomed in on like the closest road I could find to where Dylan lives off of. And I probably sat for about 8 minutes just clicking down the road. It's a straight road, no turns, no lefts, no rights, and nothing in sight. Just desert.
Nothing, not a thing. And he's 7. And I'm not saying that he's not mature, right? And he's not wise beyond his years. And maybe he was an old soul. They described him as such. So I'm not saying that he couldn't be self-sufficient. At the end of the day, he still is 17, somewhere pretty doggone barren. Mom and dad didn't live there. So Dylan's about 5 feet 10 inches tall, about 160 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. And mom says that he's either wearing this, what you see if you're watching right now, which is a plaid, like some sort of a plaid flannel. She said even if it's hot as can be outside, or overalls. That's essentially all he wore ever. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. On May 26th, this was the last time that Dylan was physically seen in public. So he was at what's called the Saddle Sore Bar. We're going to talk about that. That's in Montello, Nevada. The Saddle Sore Bar is where a lot of the characters, this is kind of like, and goodness, not to make light of this at all because it's terrible, but it's almost like a Tiger King of characters. Like when we start bringing out these different people who are potentially involved or somehow bring themselves forward in this case, it's at every turn, you just kind of, your jaw drops a little bit. But the Saddle Sore Bar is a key area here. Dylan had gone there, had a couple beers. Again, he's 19 at this point. Obviously that's illegal, but I think it's a kind of town that I'm not sure that nobody cares, right? Nobody cares about that. And he's out there farming and working hard. So that was the last time he was seen by witnesses physically. Okay. So the 26th, move on to the 28th. He was on the phone with his grandmother on May 28th at I think he called her at 6:51 in the morning. And they chatted for a little while. And then he told her he abruptly kind of got off the phone because the rain was about to set in and he had his grain truck full. And so he had to get his grain truck under shelter because he couldn't if the seeds get wet, they'll mold. It's bad news. And so while he's lived there for 2 or 3 years, this would be the first year that he was actually going to garner a crop. So he was very excited this year to actually be able to get some, reap what he sowed, so to speak, with his farm. Gets off the phone with grandma, 6:51 a.m. That's the last time he's heard from at all, right? So keep in mind, we'll talk later, his phone pings at 3:41 p.m. In that same area. So like near where his truck had been. This person's saying there may be 12 homes in Lucin, retired farmers and young families. And I think that's about it. There's not the idea is kind of a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I just looked it up like right briefly before the show.
Yeah.
It says Montanello, which is the closest town over, has a population of 59.
Yeah.
People, but there's a really great plot of land there, 20 acres for $15,000.
We already talked about that. So keep in mind too, when we talk about these low numbers of population and this crazy story that we're about to unfold, everyone knows everyone. Like, in a way, they keep to themselves, but they know every single person and probably their bloodline, you know? So that happened. So that was he was last physically seen on the 26th, last spoken to by grandma on the 28th. So then a day or two goes by and whoa, Mario Lopez, what just happened?
Dropping us a hundo.
Hundo. Thanks,
Thank you,
Mario. So finally, and the parents, most of his family at some point would talk to him throughout, every day, but not every person would talk to him. So mom didn't talk to him every day. Grandma didn't talk to him every day. So it's not really unheard of that on the 28th, he was spoken to and not spoken again to for another 2 days. Right. But on the 30th, finally, mom and dad have realized, like, I think it was another family member called back to say, hey, have you talked to Dylan in the last day or two? And they said, well, no. And then they try to call him. They can't get him. And they go to his house and they're a little bit more concerned about something like a farming injury or maybe like a snake bite. So they just kind of want to go see why they haven't heard from him. They get there. There's nothing. When they first get there, it's the thank you guys. We've got a cooler sign coming, but it's just not here yet. And so yeah, so they get there to his house and they see nothing. And actually nothing looks super alarming at first, just they can't find him. So he has they can't find any of his belongings. His truck is there, it's locked. And this is where it starts to get a little funny. So they call the police on the 30th when they get there and have no sign of him. Okay. Police get there. Within, I think, an hour and a half. It's not long after the police get there that they find his boots. Now, this is kind of another part of the story. Evidently, Dylan, since childhood, since an early age of toddlerhood, mom continuously talks about he was very particular with his shoes. He would only wear one particular shoe. So at whatever age that was, she would have to go online and try to look ahead of time so that when he outgrew them, she would have the right color and style of whatever it was he was into at the moment. So it was very telling to mom and dad when police find his boots, because she's saying that wasn't just like an old pair of boots that he threw out. Like, those were his shoes. So if he doesn't have them, he's not wearing shoes. At least that's her take on it, right? So they find these boots. If we think back, Overpay producer, if you want to throw that picture back up of the farm, maybe, it's bigger than what we can see. There's some equipment on there. Just thank Jimmy. But like, you can get an idea. The thing is like over 5 miles wide. Like, it's a huge plot of land.
Yeah, and I heard that the boots were 5 miles away from his trailer.
Yep. So
but really close to the grain truck. Is that right?
Right. So where he slept and lived, the camper trailer. And that's one thing I want to look at too, because that may be purposefully from all of the farm things. I don't know that that's unheard of, that, that his work equipment would be 5 miles away. I think he sleeps and lives over here. The farming stuff's over here. But yes, so when they found the boots, they were 100 yards south of the grain truck and in the opposite direction of his camper trailer, like where he lives. So behind like a pile of dirt.
And I remember like in some of the first comments initially that came out were like, search the dirt hill that the boots are behind. But I don't think that
it was very small. It was like where they would throw out trash and debris. Yeah. It was a small pile. It wasn't anything big. It kind of leads you to wonder, did they try to, I don't know, make you find them there or try to hide them there? I don't know.
Or that's just where they came off.
Or it's just where they came off. I know your theory that he wanted to gingerly, barefootedly walk across the grain.
No, I don't know. Like that was my theory like a week and a half ago, but
updates, but twists and turns, right? Yeah. So they found the boots. They quickly will say that there is a spot of blood on them. Lab tests confirm quickly that it was in fact blood. They never have still gotten back to verify whether or not it was human or animal blood. So the mothers the mother's issue here, excuse me, this is killing me, is that she thinks that immediately this should have been like, crime scene tape, like the whole thing, right? Like call it all in
The
because
mom thinks this.
the mom thinks this. Now the mom does think a lot of things, and I can't necessarily argue with her here. Like I will say, if you found my kid's shoes with some blood on them, I don't know. You know what I mean? This is out of character for him.
She got on the social web. She got on a lot of the newscasts.
She got on a lot of stuff.
And she talked mad shit about the police and their efforts. Yeah. But my kind of comment to that is, I don't know how many officers this town has. Box Elder or Lucin. This would be Lucin, I guess.
The officers themselves, they don't have a ton. They were able to really quickly bring in a decent sized search party with horses and dogs. So the search, they've been able to have resources otherwise. To the actual department, I'm sure it's a very small department of police.
But like at the time that she calls and she wants like this massive crime scene search, the kid's 19 and lives by himself, way away from his parents. So if I'm a cop, you can't just go looking for somebody just because your mom says he's missing, right? Like he's a grown ass kid. He could have went to Tijuana for the weekend. You know, it's not a missing person just because mom can't find him.
Absolutely. I think that they felt alarmed that they hadn't spoken to him. And so to her point, not to agree with the things that she was saying about the local department, but to her point, it was that her son was just that he was an old soul. He wasn't like other 19-year-old kids, and he did all he wanted was to farm. Like that's literally all it was. Everybody's loving your wine tonight, Eric. And it was just very out of character for him not to be on the farm, especially with this crop coming in. Like it was a go time there. Sure. And so to find his shoes and then to have potentially blood on them raised concern. So at some point, and I'm not sure if it was that day or right after, but they wanted to get in his truck and couldn't find they couldn't find keys, anything to get in it. It was locked. So they asked the police department about could they, get in it, and they said you can. So dad and mom are divorced. It's Justin and what's her name, Candace, I believe. And they break out the back window of the truck to get in there to look at it. So what she points out as odd is that when she sat in the front seat, she busted out the back window, sits in the front seat to kind of like look around. Now she's 4'11". So if you see her in any interviews or whatever, it's odd. I don't know why people don't give her a stool. It's odd because her feet are always swinging like a child, like under the chair, like they're because she's very, very short. So she's 4'11". So she says that when she sits in his, keep in mind, he's 5'10", Dylan is. When she sits in the seat of the truck, she didn't have to move the seat forward. Like the seat was pulled so far forward that it actually fit her.
Right.
So that's interesting. Also, the truck was in, yes, Sarah, I actually thought about you when I just said that.
Well, like Sarah's like 4'2". Lover Chef's in the chat and he says, so if the parents went to the police and informed them of a possible missing persons, what would you expect a small town to act on? Curious. In the case that it's an adult that lives by himself, very secluded away, I would be very cautious into opening up a missing persons investigation right away because that kid has a right to his privacy. And those parents don't get to have that right anymore. He moved away. He moved way away and he gets to be on his own. So a lot of the missing cases that I worked as a police officer, especially when it came to adults, worked one where a guy checked himself into rehab, didn't want his family to know. Found him in rehab. He told me he didn't want me to tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody. And the parents wrote a formal complaint that I would not help them out with a missing persons investigation. I went into internal affairs and I said, I found the gentleman. I wrote it in my report, which is a private report. They don't get to see that, the part that I wrote. And he checked himself into rehab. He was a 26-year-old, didn't want his parents to know that he had an issue, and he checked himself into rehab. So the family never got to know what I knew, and they were furious. So to answer your question, it kind of depends on the circumstance. The boots alone, that's not enough for me to say this guy's definitely missing. I would do my part to try to look for him as best I could and make some phone calls, but I'm not like releasing the hounds and going all in on a healthy 19-year-old that lives by himself that just hasn't checked in 2 days. If that answers your question. Change the facts, change the subject. If he lives with mom and dad and he doesn't come home for 2 days, maybe.
So that's where we're at. So she sits in the seat and she is a little just confused as to why it's pulled up so forward. And then so Dylan knew that his 4-wheel drive was not working. What's it called? Is it the transfer box?
Yeah, he had it in 4 low. It
was in 4 low when she got in there, but he wouldn't have had it in 4.
But it doesn't work. He doesn't have a 4 low.
Right. And he knew that, and people who knew him knew,
Yeah, and everybody else knew it.
Yeah, all of his buddies, his family, everybody knew, like, oh yeah, my 4-wheel drive's out. So when she get in his truck, it's in 4-wheel low. Is that what it's called? The transfer box? Is that
transfer
right?
case, yeah.
Case, okay. But yeah, so that was those were the 2 alarming things that she saw, were the seat position and the fact that it had been changed to 4-wheel low. On top of that, it had been raining. They had mad rain that on the 28th when he let grandma go on the phone that morning saying, I got to get my grain under a shelter. By the way, I don't think he actually got it to shelter. Like the truck was in an odd spot where it shouldn't have been.
The grain truck was?
Everything I read says that it was an odd spot where it shouldn't have been.
Check this out. Yes, JC Allen says that blood on the boots doesn't mean really that much because he cut his finger the other day and
anything.
We get it. Plus, I don't know if on those Justin boots, they're those light, almost like yellowish.
They are kind of yellow suede-ish.
Yeah, I don't know what blood looks like on those. I've never really dripped blood on those. I've got the dark brown Georgia boots. You wouldn't be able to tell if that was blood or oil. But
what is blood? We don't know.
What I thought was very interesting about the truck, though, was that it had been pressure washed.
So that's what I was gonna say.
I know you're gonna go there. I know you're gonna go there. But this grain truck thing that I want to go to really fast. I looked up about Lucin and Box Elder, and one of the biggest problems they have there is flash flooding, and it gets very deep in water very quick, and then the water seeps into the ground when the rain.
Because it's so flat.
But I guess you probably would keep your boots on if it was really wet. It's so strange. The boots is very strange.
The boots is super weird, and we're going to touch on that with one of our potential leads. We've got a whole cast of characters to go through concerning Dylan. But yeah, so that's what I was going to say. So the seat position and the
CDT says he did get the grain truck backed into the shed.
Oh, he did. Okay, because everything I keep reading says it was in an odd spot. Like I read that like 4 or 5 times.
I read that. I saw that too, like 2 weeks ago. That it was in an odd spot. So I have a quick theory. I'm just gonna throw it out there really quick, Tarantino it, and then I'll let you get back to your story. So I want to interrupt you. But like, what if he took the shoes off, climbed up into the grain truck to work on something, and he sunk down in that grain, and he's dead.
They've already checked the grain truck.
Oh, okay, good. So I'm wrong.
Yep. Well, remember, because I thought there's no silos. His mother said that too in an interview. She was like, "Everybody says check the silos. There's no silos." So I had to let you know that. No silo. That's where I was convinced he was. Yeah. So another thing was the truck was spick and span. It had been pressure washed, and she said that no, he treated that as most farmers do. It's his work truck, his farm truck. So you treat it like a tractor. I mean, every blue moon, if he's going to drive into town or whatever, he might rinse it off. Not the norm, especially with rains coming. He's got crops coming in. He's not washing that truck. There's no reason to. That thing lives on the farm. So that was very odd. There were also 0 tire tracks going in or out of his land. So what I've learned in looking into where he lives is the roads kind of outside of where he lives are all kind of gravel. So they don't get too muddy. They don't get too many tracks, etc. Right? But as you approach Dylan's home and as you approach his road, it turns to dirt. So it's like a dirt sand combo. It's going to leave deep ruts, deep tracks. In fact, a couple of people interviewed said that if it were raining like it did that day, you were hard pressed to actually get in or out of his area because you couldn't have gotten in or out of that road. He said even with 4-wheel drive, you're going to get stuck. You're going to get just clobbered down with mud. So the fact that that truck was crystal clean, but there were no tracks.
But the mud on the real, they didn't clean the wheel wells.
They didn't clean the wheel wells or the mud flaps.
In mud.
Yeah, the wheel wells and the mud flaps had all the mud on them.
So why don't you clean the mud? I don't know. I guess, you know.
I mean, I guess if you're in a hurry because you've just done something heinous, I don't know.
So that would be that you're speculating. I mean, obviously, we're all speculating that something nefarious happened. I tried to go through my mind about all the things that nefarious couldn't happen, like the washout. That's a really big washout. What I mean by the washout is there's a very big washout that is probably 8 feet deep. That's really close. That runs like the length of his property. And they flew over it in a helicopter. There's lots of cutouts, but if there was a flash flood, which I don't know if there was or there wasn't, and he took his boots off, but then he's still missing the cell phone and the keys. So that speculation's out.
So, okay. So
and just to let everybody know, we're doing this for entertainment purposes. We're not trying to like solve a case here or like crack.
Yeah, we're just bouncing it off.
We're just informing you guys and letting you know there's a missing dude and it's really weird. And if anybody has any ideas,
we'll talk about who to call. It'll be the Box Elder Sheriff's Department or the FBI, because now the FBI is involved. If you have any
and
tips.
JC, they were not Justin boots, they were Georgia boots, which are a lot cheaper than Justin's.
They were, and his dad's name is actually Justin. His dad wears the same pair, so he showed them on an interview recently, just to let people know what they look like. But yeah, so one of the theories is that this guy, we'll talk about him, one of the potential people of interest here, that maybe Justin got off the phone with grandma. It's 6:51 on that morning, and it hasn't really started to rain yet. Like, he knows rain's coming, so he's trying to prepare the truck. And that whoever this guy, we're about to talk about him, his name is Chase Vinstra, that Chase got in the picture. Whatever happened. And Chase had enough time to be out and have an alibi 200 miles away by the afternoon when the big rains set in, which could be why there weren't tracks to and from his place. That's
we've talked about theory. Chase already. Have you talked about what Chase?
So we're going to talk about Chase. So this is where this story just is odd at every turn. So a few days before Dylan disappeared, he mentions the fact that he called his mom. Actually, they were on the phone one day, and he said, "Hey, funny thing, this crazy thing happened. Driving down the road in my truck, and this homeless guy kind of stumbles out of the wood line, and his face is bloody, and he doesn't have shoes on, and he asked to use my phone." And he said, "So I let him use my phone." And then he said, "But he also asked for a ride, like, into town." And he said, I didn't give him a ride." We've heard later that we think he did give him a ride. Didn't tell mom. Maybe he just didn't want to alarm her. Wasn't the wisest choice. I don't know. So that guy's name is Chase Vinstra. Chase has a rap sheet a mile long. Assault, sexual violence, domestic violence, stalking. There's Chase. And depending on what picture you pull up, this is the one that I put in for today. You can put up a ton of different pictures, and he's going to look like a different guy every time. Sometimes he's shaggy. Sometimes he's more clean cut-ish, like this, with the haircut and stuff. He actually, in 2016, I believe it was, had like a family found him. Like, he was in a home hiding in their attic, trying to hold them hostage. Like, not a great guy. So this is the guy that is in all the stories about the homeless guy that stumbled out of the wood line. That's him. That's Chase. Again, Dylan told his mother he did not give him a ride into town. We have learned since that he very likely did. So that's Chase in a nutshell. He'll come back up a little bit later, but yeah, it's.
So I also said that like when I first heard of this case, because this case is 5 weeks old now.
Mm-hmm.
I think at like day 10 of his missing and disappearance, when this whole Chase thing came out, I said, like, dude, there's no way, there's no coincidence that he's 20 miles away from the nearest human being, and there's a dude walking randomly with no shoes on, a bloody face, and he gives him a ride, and that dude is not involved. Like that, right. Coincidence like that do not happen, but maybe they do. But man,
I know
odds.
And Chase, like I said, has a history of a lot of yucky stuff. Yeah. But we also have. There are some other cast of characters here, right? So let's talk about a little more of the dynamic here. So we have 19-year-old Dylan. He's got a couple of farm hands. They're not there all the time. They don't live there, but they will help out. We got Don and we got Kurt. Last name starts with an H. Doesn't matter. Kurt's last worth. It's going to be important. Kurt has 2 brothers, and we're going to talk about all of them.
And they're
Don,
pieces of shit too, right?
They're that's a terrible bloodline. Okay,
yeah.
So yeah,
like
okay,
Troy
so,
is like super dirty.
Well, and so are both of his brothers, in fact.
Okay.
So don't let that fool you just because he looks more like a piece of shit than the rest of them. Like it's so
Gotcha.
Thank you, overpaid producer. So we have Don. So actually I pulled this from it wasn't Into Life. It was one of the other podcasts I was listening to, and they broke it down in a great little graph here of some of our persons of interest, and there's actually more. But we have Don, who was one of the helpers on the farm. Not much to be said about Don, honestly. He got fired. Dylan just kind of got tired of him, but nothing really, not a big beef there.
Was Don also didn't he also work in Montanello, or am I wrong?
Like at the saddle store?
Yeah. Yes.
Don could have, but the other boys did. The Wadsworth boys did.
Okay.
So I personally, I'm discounting Don. Don's out of the picture for me. We got Kurt. So where you see Kurt and Troy, if you're watching, guys, we just got a little graphic up that shows some pictures and like a little narrative about these different people. But Kurt and Troy are brothers. They also have a brother named Scott. Kurt ran the Saddle Sore bar. He didn't own it, but he ran it. All right. So Dylan knew him well because Kurt also worked on his farm when Don worked with him. Kurt was a helper. Okay. So Kurt at one time had been married, had a daughter. That's dissolved because we have learned that pretty sure that Kurt and 19-year-old Dylan, Kurt's about 60 at this point, have a romantic relationship. So the reason that matters is because we always look to the significant other, right? Or the partner. And so I think that we've got to be careful to not make it a thing about this kid having this relationship with this dude, but also I feel like that's definitely a little predator-ish from this old dude. The age difference is baffling, and we need to know who's spending time with them. So Kurt ran the Saddle Sore bar, also worked at the farm, and we have now heard there's multiple reports of it's like so-and-so, once removed, twice removed, but it's like the owner of the Saddle Sores bar's daughter's boyfriend, whatever. Someone walked in and actually saw Kurt in full women's dress at one point.
Yeah, but if you've hung out with me long enough, you've seen me in full women's clothing before.
If I hadn't deleted the hard drive, Eric, from like 06.
Right.
So many things.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm like the guy that would like every Halloween I'd dress up as a chick of some sort.
But then there was Grandfather Mountain. So Kurt, and we've learned that Kurt, it's pretty.
And I'm not a weirdo.
Okay. So we've learned that Kurt and Dylan have their thing, right? And so part of some people's theory is that, and this could be true, is that the mom, the reason she's being so, she's not just being like looking out for a kid, she's being assertive in a different kind of way. And some people think it's because maybe she doesn't really want the public to know a lot about Dylan's personal life, and that could be the case. I get it. She actually fired, well, we're going to talk about him. They had Jim Terry was the notes, guys, on paper, pen and paper. Jim Terry.
Thank you, brother.
Jim Terry was the private investigator that they had, but mom got very upset with him and said that he was trying to lead everyone down the wrong path. And he was one of the first ones to speak on Dylan's romantic relationship with Kurt. So, here's the guy. If you listen to the interviews with that PI with Jim Terry, he's abrasive. He's obnoxious. His delivery is subpar for sure. He's kind of like a Saul in Better Call Saul. Like he's kind of like the backroom PI, but at the same time, he's done a pretty good job and he's got a pretty good caseload and successful one at that. So He's a little tough to listen to, but I think he knows what he's doing. And I think mom didn't like that he was sharing news about Dylan and Kurt. So that's Kurt Wadsworth. Moving forward, we have his brother, Troy Wadsworth. Troy is, he's a beautiful man. His
He looks like the creep. He's got the bowl. You know, he
So
looks like
if you're
Riff Raff from what's that? What's the movie? Riff Raff with transsexual Transylvania.
God bless. All right.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Thank you. That's you dressed up as that for Halloween.
Exactly like that guy.
That was your Halloween.
I did do that for Halloween.
That was a good one.
Bald head, hair down the sides.
All right.
He looks just like him.
So Troy, if you're reading this, you can see he has an MO of removing shoes. Troy has also stalked and assaulted people and held people captive and kidnapped and whatnot like that. And he likes to remove shoes. So that's interesting. When it says at the bottom in a policing group, so Troy and his brother Kurt and then Dylan all kind of banded together and were in this little kind of vigilante group around town to kind of drive through town, whatever, keep the peace. In a town this small, that kind of makes sense. I think the police honestly left people to their own devices in the terms of just like, do what you're supposed to, don't mess it up, right? Yes, Bosco, let's get a pic then. That's how you're dressed right now. So that's Kurt and Troy Wadsworth. We don't have anything about Scott on here. Scott's the third brother. He's just as much. I mean, the same rap sheet, he had scratches on his arm. In fact, after all of this, like looked almost like defensive scratches. All those Wadsworth boys are bad news. Bad news. But then we still have Chase, the homeless guy, right? So actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, so this is weird because Kurt is the one that will say, almost more to the point of not trying to find Dylan, he kind of makes it about him, and he'll say, granted, he's lost his marriage and grown child, like over his romantic relationship with Dylan, but he'll say things like, I know more about him than anyone. No one knows Dylan. No one, no one knows him and what he does. I will be the one.
Nobody talks like that hasn't fucked him.
Oh, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, well, and we already know that they have a relationship.
Like that dude, that dude's like, nobody knows him like I know him.
Yeah. And
you don't say that about a girl or a dude unless you've
been romantic.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But I just feel like it's such a big grab that he's going so over the top. Like I will clear my name in this and I'm going to find him. I'm going to find out what happened to Dylan before anyone else does.
I'm sure he will because he banged him.
Because he might already know what happened to Dylan.
Or that too.
That's kind of a thing.
Family, like we've learned with the Gabby Petito case as of late, the family will do some pretty fucked up shit for family. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like we're now learning that the Petitos knew the entire time that he fucking killed Gabby, not Petito family. I'm sorry. The
Landry family
knew. I'm so sorry. The Landry family knew that he had killed her.
I'm not surprised by that one.
I mean, wow, dude. Wow.
I was suspicious of those two, of mom and dad, for a while on that one. So Kurt actually called. This is weird. It just gets at every turn. Kurt actually called within a day or two of Dylan being notified or being listed as missing, right? Kurt Wadsworth, that we just spoke of, the one who runs the bar that they go to and the one that helps on the farm, called the police to say that Chase Fintra, you guys, the homeless guy, so he knows him. He knows his name. He called the police, say, hey, Chase has Dylan. He's got him in a place. He's holding him hostage in this home. Like, go find him. What? The police go and they check out the house. There's nothing. But Kurt called the police about the homeless guy. Like, so how do we all know about all the different characters? Like, how do they all know?
Yeah, because Troy's the one that's got him locked up in the basement with no shoes on.
That's actually not a far grab.
I know it's not. Like, I've been following this case pretty solid now.
I know you have. So it's so bizarre. So the most recent development was that in I think like 4 days ago, James Brennan, they call him a family friend. I think that's a stretch. He's kind of an aggressive bugger. He's not a super nice guy, but he's been squatting in a trailer on Dylan's property. Granted, we know it's a huge property. Don't know how close, how much they had to interact. Dylan allowed it, like he knew he was there. He is a felon. I can't figure out what his felony is from. I've been looking. All I know is he's a felon, but he was just brought in 4 days ago and arrested for improper acquisition or ownership of a firearm because he's a felon, so he's not supposed to have one. So he's like straight up like musket. So he had just like black powder, the guns, the whole thing. Got brought in for that. They won't say anything else about it. Are we bringing him in for that? Because we want to ask him a lot of other questions. I have a problem with this
too. Like, yes, he's a convicted felon, and now they're making a big deal that he had guns. But they're
but do you not think that's why they're bringing him in, just to hang on to him for a minute?
Well, sure, absolutely. But like, let's not all be like, oh my God, he had guns. I mean, he had.
I don't care that he had
22 caliber and
it's a musket. It's going to take him a
black
minute.
powder rifle. So I mean, it's not like he's.
No, I don't care that he had guns, but my point is they brought him in on that,
right? Which is good
because he's a felon. He's not supposed to have them. So now they can
catch all.
Now they can hang on to him, right? So he actually dumped a bunch of firearms at a friend's house before they brought him in because he felt like they were on his trail a little bit, and he told his friend when they said, "Why do you want me to hang on to these?" And he said, "Because I don't want it to be like last time when they took everything," because he knows they'll take all this stuff. So that's James Brennan. That's the newest update from 4 days ago that he was arrested. All the clickbait stuff will say like new update, person of interest arrested in the Dylan Rounds case. Like, yeah, yes and no. Yeah, they got him. They haven't really released anything else in connection with Dylan.
It's Troy. Let's go.
So you're off Chase now. Chase is the homeless one, remember?
I've always been off of Chase. Well, no. I'm saying at the beginning, I was all in on Chase.
Okay.
And I still think Chase has got to have something to do with it. I don't know. Chase has got to have something to do with it, especially because when the dude called and said that Chase has got him in his basement.
So weird.
Not basement, but like,
So weird. Barn. Why is he calling to, like, why is he accusing Chase? How does he know Chase?
Okay, how about this?
How does he know him?
What if Chase, Troy, and all the boys get all riled up? They go out there and start messing with Dylan. Shit goes down. Chase is like, yo, I need some shoes. He got punched in the face. Bloodies his. Oh, no, this because it would be way before.
That was before.
That was way before. Yeah.
That was before.
Right. Yeah. That was too much wine. Keep going.
No, you're good.
I was thinking faster than.
No, I got you. Then you're
talking faster than I could think. Yep.
I got that. So, and this is also the family has mom has decided who she's ruling in and out at every turn. So she'll say, "I've ruled out Chase. That's the homeless guy." She said that 2 days in to finding out about Chase. Yeah. She was like, "I've ruled him out." And she tells the public as though this is a done deal. This matter has been settled. I've ruled out Chase.
Yeah, but I don't like the mom either.
I don't either. I hate to say that. I can't imagine what she's going through. She is tough, though.
Sure.
Oh, she's kind of tough. Dad, his father, is pretty quiet and kind of sits back. I don't think he has a lot of time to get many words in. Chase,
oh, sorry. It's Chris says he said that Robert Avelius had him in his basement.
I don't know.
I mean,
what I read said that he said that Chase. I don't know. The one I read said that he called to say that Chase did. But I don't. You could be totally right.
Look, I have watched, and this is what's so cool about
so much here
and the true crime community is that you can literally go. 20 minutes before we watched this, I watched 2 more podcasts about. I mean, not podcasts, but YouTube videos about this. I mean, everybody's in on this case, which is why it's fun.
Yeah,
I hope they find the kid.
Yeah, I do too.
What are you thinking at this point?
I think that Kurt has a motive if he's lost his family because his relationship has been found out about with Dylan. He also just has a yucky past. He's the best out of the 3 brothers in terms of kind of making a family, kind of working at this bar, whatever, but that's a really low bar.
Do you think that because it's such a small town that more than one, let's say Kurt is upset that he's found out that he's losing his family because he's having this relationship.
Okay.
So he gets Troy,
Yes,
and
I think that's easy that we could have brought somebody else in.
right,
I don't.
like now we're like, okay, well, who is a guy that can freaking take care of this for me? Oh,
Yes,
well, I mean, you
my
don't have a lot of
brothers.
people to
Either one
choose
of my
from.
brothers can.
Let me get Troy to work on this. You know, Troy's like, let me get my buddy Chase involved.
So currently they have Chase is in custody right now, homeless guy for unrelated stuff.
Yeah, but
Whatever.
see, and the police are not going to tell you.
No, they don't
And
need
that's
to.
the other thing I have with
That's what
true
we just
crime.
talked about last week.
Exactly. That's like the one thing I hate about true crime detectives. Now I love true crime detectives. Look, I love all you basic white girls that think you're a detective. Like it's awesome. I think you could possibly do great things because there's another way of looking at things, right? So I'm not knocking it totally, but the one thing is you got to understand is that the police probably have a strategy of their own, and they're not complete dum-dums. Like I know that this lady would like to make you think they're dum-dums, but you know, in the case of the guy for me who was in rehab, the family was really, really mean to me and really made me feel like it. And I wanted to be like, I'm sorry, I know you hate me, but your son's in rehab, but it's not my place.
Right.
Because I told the son, who was very adamant, like, look, dude, I'm 26. Don't tell anybody I'm here. You know, I don't want my job figuring this out. I already took, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, and it sucks because the parents think that he may or may not have committed suicide, you know,
Right.
and I'm like,
so we have a bit of a different timeline tonight. So we're going to start to wrap this up a little bit, but, so much with this. One little thing to keep in mind. Dylan has some money that granddad has given him. We're looking at 30 and 40 grand in a check or cash, whatever he has, right? Around that town, around those parts, a child with that agreed it was Colonel Mustard in the study with the candlestick. That's what this makes me think of, DJ. Like, yes.
yeah,
It's all a game of Clue right now. And so we know that he has this money. And the town could have known he has this money.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is a pretty big motive. You got a 19-year-old kid with 30, 40K sitting around, got a lot of drug use going on. We get that. I think that opens the doors for a lot of things. We also have learned that mom, Candace, owes about $2 million in liens over the past few years.
Jesus.
Dylan had been bragging about having his 30K from his granddad. Also, granddad took out another $50,000 loan on him just recently. It's a really small town, and people talk. So that's something to think about.
Steve, I listened to Jonathan Reich's his YouTube take on this as well. I know that he says that Jim owns 10 acres in Nevada on the border. Question is, why is he squatting? I think they've been throwing the word squatting around wrong for a while. Like, and I'm guessing that there's probably a proximity thing there. Maybe he's closer to Montanello. I don't know, but like, I don't think it's squatting when somebody's letting you stay on their land and somebody knows that you're there.
Yeah, if he's aware of it, that's just
like
I
know, and maybe I'm wrong, but
guest.
I've always had a problem with them calling that guy a squatter because, like,
I agree with that.
How do you squat out there anyway? Like, look, just go on your Google webs right now, type in this.
If you're looking, that's Dylan and his
Montanello, and try to look at the overpass there. I mean, not the overpass, the little highway there. I mean, dude, there ain't nothing out there we're squatting on, man. Maybe he's got an internet service there, and his land he doesn't have internet service. Might be something that dumb. Might be something that dumb. What an interesting case. I think that I know that you're going to keep us. Did you have more? Did you have more to this?
I can have more, but it'll be for a whole nother show. There's a lot, but that's kind of
do another update on this.
That's the meat and potatoes of what we have right now. That's the big stuff, the newest updates. We have another child, Aiden, that we can talk about at another time. That is also 19, who has just gone missing in the same area about a month before.
Right. Seth says, have you guys done the math yet? There are only like 50 or so people left in the town to interview. Right. And there are also people that aren't even allowing the interview to, like,
they don't want to talk. They don't want you on their town.
They don't let you on their property.
They don't like the search parties being there, and that's what they've talked about. They're like, people don't like us here. Like, these people, think about it. If they're living there,
libertarian and we don't want anybody.
Yeah,
here.
they're living there. It's not because they don't want a part of all the mess. They literally went there to be completely isolated. So they don't, and they're all, I can't say they're all tied to things, but I mean, there's just, kind of a lot of yucky stuff happening around there.
Yeah. I'm excited about this, Andrea. I appreciate your hard work, and I love True Crime Tuesdays. Night Shift has turned into kind of True Crime Tuesdays with Andrea up late. She's going to keep giving us updates. Look, we're going to have her every Tuesday. We're super blessed. We're super excited. It's only going to get better. We're going to get her a better microphone. I'm going to be back in studio. I'm just on vacation.
I mean, the duct tape is holding like really well.
We've set her up
all good.
The bare bones because she just came on with us 3 weeks ago as we went independent. So we're all making things work, man. And we appreciate you guys' patience and all the support and the following us on social media, hammering that like button.
Okay.
Right now, a lot of people are saying, what can we do to help? Reviews, rating and reviews help us a lot. Listen to all of the shows, give them a chance. We're bringing on lots of new content. We're seeing how everything works.
Download
us. We are
the
number one podcast for policeman's culture. And there's just, we've had the wrench that was thrown into us by us leaving the network and going independent and doing our own thing. And so now it's going to take some growing pains, some time to find our own way. Mike is with us every Monday and every Friday. I will be every Tuesday and every Thursday. And we have the Disruptors, on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And then we have the Disruptors on Tuesday days. So lots of big stuff. Lumber Chef, I'm glad you're a big fan of Andrea. If you guys are a big fan of Andrea, head over to Andrea Up Late, right? Is that it? Andrea Up Late? Sounds kinky.
It's not.
Yeah. Ask your wife. Get your wife to follow too, so she doesn't assume the worst out of you. And give old Andrea Up Late a follow. And she's just it's True Crime Tuesdays, man. She's gonna be diving into some of these big true crime cases. Follow this one as much as we are. If you've got theories, go to Andrea Up Late. Message her all of your theories. Keep watching. If you think she missed something, message her back and forth.
Definitely.
She's all in.
And hey, a lot of you guys, real quick, a lot of you guys have been sending in ideas for shows, things you want me to look into, and I'm all for it. So I've been actually keeping a list. I've got a ton of them at this point. Some of them are personal to you guys, or some are just really interesting stories. So I'm keeping a list, and we will be kind of hacking through those. I wanted to go on and touch this one right now since it is so current. Everybody's kind of on
Mario. Absolutely love you, dude. $100 is huge for us right now.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank you. And to everybody else who super chatted us tonight, Sean Husk, all the other guys.
And I want to shout out Rip Pack. Taylor. I got my Rip Pack in the mail today.
Oh, you got some Rip Pack in the mail today?
I did. Yeah,
you're refreshing that bread, man. I can smell your breath through that microphone.
Yep. So I'm gonna
used it yet.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna send a video. Send a video of it this week. I told him I'd throw a video up using it. So yeah.
Cool, man. Well,
yeah, I got really excited to see that today. So thank you, Rip Pack.
Micah McFile, thank you so much, sir. Stare at couch. If you go over to Rip Pack, use that promo code WOLFPACK. Get you that 15% off and clean your teeth, man. Make your breath smell good. Pack it with you. I love it. I was just talking to the owner of Rip Pack today, which is super cool. So we're going to be doing some more stuff with him as sponsorship wise going forward. Guys, until next time, guns up, giddy up. We'll give you guys another update here on this soon. We'll see you next Tuesday night.
Good night, y'all.